All right, Aries, you're needing to kind of slow down here and not be too quick with making any decisions, even though you have a brand new life and a brand new you. So who in the world are you? Getting to know the new you and breathe. Breathe is saying patience and waiting and going slow are going to be the most important things for you, which is probably what most Aries don't want to hear. But if you are getting to know the new you and you have worked really hard to create a new life for yourself, you don't want to make choices that are going to repeat the same patterns that you've seen before. Make sure that you are in tune with the new you before you make any kind of decision. Don't do anything rushed. All right, Aries. Here is your overall. Wow, death. Yeah, big transformation. Big transformation. So with death, we're talking about the ending of a way of being and going through, your own personal transformation here. But, we'll see how death is playing out here, because when death shows up, you can't go back. Something is definitely over with. But it's not a bad thing, This is you kind of rising out of a bad situation and recreating yourself. And the past, the Page of Cups. I look at that, and with death being the overall, this could be about you having new emotions surrounding a situation. But with death being there, something has definitely come to an end or has changed in a very big way. But more specifically, you are the one that is changing here, especially with the Oracle cards. But the Page of Cups can also show being a little bit naive. Now, for some of you, it is going to be the brand new life here that you have created. There are things that are definitely over with, but, we are talking about a new experience here, new emotions, also the communication of emotions. But I don't feel bad about it, other than the naive type of feeling, but it feels innocent, not that you were taken advantage of. Oh my goodness. In the present, the Knight of Cups. Oh boy. So, I actually really see this as a good thing, but I think that there's a reason why you're being told to kind of slow down here and don't be in a rush. I think it's more important for you to get to know yourself and what you're actually wanting before you offer anything. Now, on the other hand, though, for some of you, this could be about somebody coming through that is giving you something. The Knight of Cups, typically, especially with the Page of Cups being there, we're talking about, love, wanting to share an emotional experience with someone. And I love the Knight of Cups, I do. But, the Knights, they don't really think about the action that they're taking. They're just doing what they feel in the moment. It is direct, immediate action. And if this is you, it's you needing to kind of slow down. Something has definitely come to an end in your life, and it has changed you in a very positive way, which is great. There are new emotions that are being brought up, but going after something right now and following your heart, there's nothing wrong with that. But I feel like I need to tell you that there's no rush to do this, though. Now, for those of you who are dealing with somebody who is presenting this to you, you may want to kind of like step back before you accept anything, but we'll see here. Okay. And that's good, because that to me is saying that, for a lot of you, you may be considering it first before just, taking a leap of faith here. There are things that are going to come to an end that definitely need to change if we're dealing with, a person from the past and new emotions being brought back up, which can be the case with the Page of Cups. But I look at the Seven of Pentacles, and I think that a lot of you are going to move into this place of looking at what you have created before and kind of looking at this and going, is it going to produce the same results, or is there potential for more growth? So, I feel good about it. I think that, you're doing the right thing, but by kind of like looking at the situation first before accepting anything. But on the other hand, I do worry that for some of you, you may be in a rush here to have a new emotional experience, but things may not actually work out the way that you had expected, and it's not a bad thing. I just look at the Seven of Pentacles and I always question on whether or not that person is actually seeing the results that they want. Because we're only at a 7 here, you're talking about needing to make changes for more growth. Wow, Aries, the hell's going on? Your best path to follow the King of Pentacles, and then looking at the Queen of Pentacles, yeah. I think that for you, you need to look at what you are willing to give. If there is going to be potential for more growth, then you have to be willing to give in order to receive here. With the King of Pentacles, typically you're talking about somebody who is very giving of themselves, their time, their resources, but also somebody who is very successful and knows how to continue and sustain that success. But we could also be talking about a person who is looking at what they can get from a certain situation, right? What are you gaining from this? Now, if you're dealing with a person like this, you may have a lot of feelings surrounding this, but is there still, the potential for more growth, or does the relationship or the partnership, business partnership, whatever it is, come to kind of like a block almost, but it's not bad. It's like it can only go this far. Wowza. Oh boy. In your environment, the Fool. The Fool. Of course. Of course. For you, it's like, okay, let's see what happens, And again, if this is you, it's like, I'm just going to go ahead and jump and see what happens, right? Now, if you're accepting an offer from somebody, then, with the Fool here, again, it's basically the same thing. It's you, taking a risk, taking a leap of faith here. And not really worried about, what's going to happen. I don't think that you or the other person that you're dealing with, whether it's relationship or business here, although I do think it's relationship. And I think it's new for a lot of you. But it may be old feelings that are coming back up for someone in particular, or them feeling this way about you, and there's the communication, and then there's the offer. But it's only out of like extreme change in your life. A part of you has died, but it's a good thing. Like, I see all of this as a really good thing. I just don't think that you should rush into this, because you may not get exactly what you had expected, but that doesn't mean that there isn't more room for growth. But it's like, let's just see what happens. And that's basically how I feel about the Fool. For you, it's a brand new life. I mean, brand new. But I do, with death, believe that it's going to be out of the ashes of something really difficult that has changed you in a very big way. But you're still very optimistic, though, which is great, especially after having been through, death. Because I don't necessarily see anything here that is suggesting that this is going to drastically change you. I would have expected to see something a little bit heavier than the Seven of Pentacles. Wow. Yeah, I'm telling you, your hopes and your fears, the Wheel of Fortune, you don't want to see the same thing over again. It is a new cycle. It is about fate working in your favor this time. It is big change, big change. But it's allowing you to accept things that I think that you may not have been able to before. Because I still look at that Knight of Cups, and with the Fool, it's absolutely, no matter what is coming at you, like, yeah, I'm going to follow that feeling. I want to see where this goes, The Wheel of Fortune I see is a good thing, but on the flip side, it's, you needing to make sure that you're not doing the same thing over again. Just slow down, Aries. Just slow down. Oh, and then coming out, the Five of Cups. All right. Yeah, there's going to be at least a little bit of disappointment here. I still don't see death as a bad thing. I actually feel like this is good. I don't think that this is something so drastic, though, that it would cause a death cycle for you, where a part of you is like completely dead and you're recreating yourself. I think that's something that you've already experienced. I think that that is what allows for you to accept new things, new feelings. But because we're looking at the Seven of Pentacles, it's going to be a little bit of a letdown, because there's such like high expectation almost. There is, but there isn't. There's so many new feelings, but it just doesn't sustain itself for you, I think is what is coming out here with the Five of Cups. All right. I'm going to guess that some of you are probably dealing with a water sign. But with the King of Cups and looking at the Five of Cups, I kind of, I feel like the letdown is that I think that you had more expectation when it comes to, the emotions of this person. How do I put this? If I could just spit it out. I think that you expected them to be more involved. I kind of get the feeling with the King of Cups that this is somebody who is very emotionally open, yes. But at the same time, they kind of like take a distance. And that would explain why there's a little bit of disappointment here. But with the Page of Cups being connected to that, though, there's definitely new emotions that are being brought up. Now, for some of you, you may become emotionally available, but you are being let down because something doesn't exactly, produce the results that you're wanting to see, looking at the Seven of Pentacles. But the thing is are you calling it, though, before you've given it a chance for continued growth? And there again, you can't rush. You can't rush into something. Now, with the Four of Pentacles, this we're talking about holding on to things, but this is really about somebody who's wanting to maintain things the way that they are, right? There's at least some level of stability that's been gained. The fear there is that there's going to be complete loss, and the thing is that this isn't something that you want to let go of, I don't think. I think that, you may be in a position here to just kind of like jump into this with, some expectations, but at the same time, kind of like a free feeling of let's just see where this goes. But there are things that you're, hanging on to or expecting almost. That's kind of what I feel like with the Four of Pentacles. For some of you, it's just simply that you're dealing with a person who is still hanging on to things, and maybe they're the ones that can't be as free as you are, which is possible here. And then the Lovers. And again, there's disappointment over the fact that, you're not seeing more. You're not seeing more. You want more. You want more from this. But with the Lovers, you're talking about a major choice here. But, again, I look at death and I think that you have completely changed. Your life has completely changed. That is why this opportunity is coming up. But, you can't look at this and go, it's the same as everything else, because it may not be. You have to be careful about the choices that you're making in love. Very specifically here with the Lovers. Don't follow the temptation to rush or to make a rush choice in saying that something is definitely over with. But like I said, with death, I don't think that this is it. I don't think that this is enough to cause this kind of thing. I think that this is something that you've already experienced, but it's like, man, I had a major transformation. All of this stuff is opening up. I definitely want to have this experience or this opportunity with this person. But damn it, it's not everything that I had expected, And you may need to give a little bit more. You need to give a little bit more in order to get what you're wanting out of this. You know, there is still potential for growth. That is what I want to say to you. You know, don't give up just yet. Don't get caught up in disappointment. You know, that, or we're talking about somebody else who may be disappointed at the fact that they couldn't keep you, which could be very possible here. Let's take a look at the soul trees. Oh my goodness, Aries. And then possibilities. I'm telling you, this doesn't have to be like a make or break situation here, or do or die for that matter. The possibilities are still very much open for more growth. But you need to treat yourself better and allow more room for fun. And I cannot believe that I'm saying this to Aries. You know, you have to play. You have to treat yourself to the good things in life. You have to be free. But you have to remain open to all of the possibilities here. You know, don't give in to this feeling of being let down or disappointed. I feel like there's still more to come. You just have to give it a chance, right? And then view from above, get the big picture. A lot of people get this one. The bigger picture here is it's about enjoying your life, enjoying the passion, enjoying the pleasure. Wow, Aries. I don't see this as bad. I feel like there's going to be a part of you that's going to be really disappointed and let down. Probably by a person in particular here. But I also feel like, you know, this could very well be about somebody who may be really upset over the fact that they couldn't keep you. You know, and for you, though, you can't be tied down, though, either. I tell people this all the time. You can't tie down an Aries. You got to give them room to breathe. They got to be able to do what they need to do. You know, if they come back around, that's a good sign, right? So I have to wonder if this isn't having to do with someone in particular here. But I think that you need to stay open to all of the possibilities. Don't be quick to make any choices. Enjoy your life. Enjoy your life. Don't get stuck in anything permanent, especially if you have gone through a big transformation in your life. And if it's allowing you all of this freedom, take time to enjoy that and get to know yourself first before you get caught up in situations where, you know, there may be a person in particular here that has trouble with letting you go.